Hey folks, in this video we're doing the biggest Nikon 50mm showdown ever with 9 different lenses ranging from $99 to $1,900. Let's jump in. In this video we're heading to the beach with model Katie to do a bunch of different autofocus tests as well as shooting the lenses wide open to see what kind of bokeh they create. We're going to test them in video and in stills, and I'm going to give you sample files that you can download from all of the lenses. There's a link for that in the description below. Next up, we're heading into studio to shoot the lenses stop down to see what kind of detail and resolution we can get from them. Okay, so we've got model Katie in. You ready to go to the beach?
Yes.
We're going to test out the 9 different lenses in video and in stills wide open to see how they perform. So let's go. It's like 40 degrees Celsius today. Perfect day for the beach. 50mm lenses are so versatile. I think photographers go in and out of using them throughout their career, shooting them everything from portraits to street to product photography. You really can shoot anything with them. Here's a whole big sample of images. Now for the first test here, I'm not going to tell you which lens was which, so let me just number them and you keep note of which one you think looks the best. I'm showing you the full wide shot and then 100% crop on each of the lenses. Check out the link below. You can download all these sample files to Pixelpeep for yourself. The YouTube compression really doesn't do the photos justice. Next up, we set up a simple video test with Katie walking along the beach and me tracking her with the lenses at their respective wide open aperture. Now 9 isn't the best result, but I'll explain that to you a little bit later, but it was great shooting with all of these. I have to say, out in the conditions they were doing really well. The Z9 is such a complex camera. Like so many modern mirrorless cameras, you're going to get the best from it by taking the time to set it up properly. If you are in the Z system, then please check out my expert setup guide. It's comprehensive, ever evolving with new firmware and new cameras being added as Nikon releases them. It will help you get the best out of your equipment. Next, let's head back into studio. So at the beach, we were shooting with the Z9, and then for the native Z mount lenses, straight on. And for the F mount lenses, we were actually using the FTC2 adapter. Now, let's just run through the lenses here. Let me just tell you all the specs, then we'll do the studio portion of this shoot. First up is the 50mm f1.8D lens. This guy will focus down to 45 centimeters. It's got 6 elements in 5 groups. It's got 7 rounded aperture blades and it weighs in at 155 grams. Let's just go through them roughly in terms of size, but we're counting the hoods here. Next up is the Yongnuo. Now this is also a 50mm f1.8, kind of a copy of something between a Canon and Nikon 1.4 lens in terms of its design. This one is $102. It'll also focus down to 45 centimeters, 6 elements in 5 groups, the simplest lens in the lineup. It's got 7 aperture blades and weighs 203 grams. This little one is actually the Z mount macro lens. So this is only an f2.8 lens, and despite its relatively small size, this is $650 US, so a big jump in price. It'll focus down to 16 centimeters because it's giving you true 1-to-1 macro. It's got 10 elements in 7 groups, 9 aperture blades, and it weighs 260 grams. Next up is the Z f1.8 S lens, S denoting that it's the higher quality optics. This is $500, focuses down to 40 centimeters, has 9 rounded aperture blades, and significantly heavier, now up to 415 grams. Going a little old school, these are the classic DSLR lenses. So first up, the 50mm f1.8G, best bang for buck lens in my previous tests. This is $217, focuses to 45 centimeters, 7 elements in 6 groups, 7 rounded aperture blades, 185 grams, and just a great little all-around lens. But I'll be interested to see how it actually performs on the Z9. Next up is its bigger brother. It's not too much bigger, but it's a fair bit heavier, is the 1.4G. This is $450. To be honest, I've always thought that this is overpriced for what you're getting. It's got 8 elements in 7 groups, also focuses to 45 centimeters, 9 rounded aperture blades, 280 grams, so another 100 grams over this guy. But now we're getting into the true chonks. This is the Sigma 50mm art lens. This was the lens that kind of reinvigorated Sigma 8 years ago or so. They brought out this and the 35mm art, and it just reimagined for people what Sigma could be doing. Big price jump. So far our most expensive has been $650 for the macro, but $500 for the standards. This is $950. It'll focus down to 40 centimeters. It's got 18 elements in 8 groups, so way more complex than any of the other ones to date. 9 rounded aperture blades and 815 grams, so doubling the weight again. Then the Tokina. Now, you don't see these very often. Tokina kind of jumped in the game with these opera lenses just as DSLRs were starting to die off. Amazing timing. Also, $950 for this guy. Also focuses to 40 centimeters. 15 elements in 9 groups, 9 rounded aperture blades, even heavier again at 950 grams. But then we get to the true chonk master general, the 50mm f1.2 that I've talked so much about. This guy is $1,900 for a 50mm prime. Same closest focus of 45 centimeters, 17 elements in 15 groups. That's the most groups by far of any of the lenses here. 9 rounded aperture blades. It weighs in at 1,090 grams, so even heavier than these guys, but it's the only 1.2 in the mix. This represents the 9 F-mount, autofocus lenses that are pretty much on the market these days. So I will be giving you, as I said, sample files from the beach and here in studio. At the beach, we just shot them at their relative widest open aperture, so whether that's 2.8 or 1.2. In studio, let's test them all at f4 and bring in a studio light to see what kind of detail they can yield. Again, we're going to keep it anonymous, so keep track of which one you like the look of. Next up, let's get a top-down shot on each of the lenses as we do a focus speed test from closest focus to pull her into focus. Again,
Okay,
stop
so
down.
this one doesn't have the focus window, so on those ones I'll show you the screen and I'll call it. So going to closest focus, 3, 2, 1. Actually, I was too fast on that. It's too quick. It's a hair trigger. Okay, so let's do the Yongnuo now. Closest focus. Oh, this is a plasticky piece of junk. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so a little shuffle there at the end. Let's do it one more time. That's so weird that you do it opposite. You screw this way for the dial to go that way. 3, 2, 1. So again, it goes slightly past and then back, but it gets there no problem. Let's just get a few different samples here. Let's do focus test on this go. 1, 2, 3. One more time. So compared to the Yongnuo, you can see it just kind of pulls to it, slows down and gets it rather than going past and coming back again. That makes a difference. Chin slightly down, get a few samples here. Three, two, one. Nice. Now this is a little bit longer than the other lenses too. Okay, 7. Beautiful. You do that very well. Oh, it's so slow and I can't get her. What the is wrong with you, buddy?
Press it?
It hasn't got you yet. Amazing. What if I just... Interesting. So for all of these, I've been shooting them in continuous, but only taking one shot. This lens can kind of work in single, but it's really only getting the face rather than the eye. It's still incredibly slow, but in continuous, it just doesn't grab her at all. It just keeps going back and forward from infinity to 0.7 of a meter. Won't get her. Okay, let's get you, give me an 8 again. And I'm just gonna do one here wide open to really accentuate it. Ooh, thank you for your ooh. Oh, that's actually crazy funny. Good to do the test. When I went to 1.4, when I go to wide open, it just gets her. But at f4, it can't. So maybe I was just, poor Mr. Tokina, I just chose the one aperture that it sucks really royally at. Let's just check f2. F2, little hesitation. 2.8. 2.8, it's hunting, but not quite as bad. And f4. So first of all, thank you for making it all the way to the conclusion. Leave me a comment if you're actually still watching at this point. The Tokina was a big disappointment, I have to say. That performance really left a lot to be desired, and especially given the Z9 with the FTC Mark II adapter is doing so well on pretty much every lens I've tested, I really think that outlier result has to do with the lens rather than the camera or the adapter, because the other lenses top down were doing just fine. One exception, and you'll note that number 9 in all of those tests was basically omitted. I did that just as a gentle jibe to Nikon to encourage them to make an adapter that will actually work with the lenses. That was the 50mm 1.8 lens, or well, it wasn't, because we can't get autofocus with any of those lenses until they give us an adapter with a built-in autofocus motor. So 9 isn't an option for you. The Tokina, as I was saying, in low light, the AF is terrible. In video, honestly, it was too slow even for walking. The stills are some of the sharpest for F-mount, but the bokeh, when it's wide open, isn't as nice as the Sigma, which was number 7. Now, it had no issues with the autofocus, but it is showing its age wide open. The sharpness and contrast isn't there, but stop down, it's doing quite well. Next up is the 50mm 1.2, and I don't want to be just saying buy the newest and most expensive, but the performance is absolutely faultless in terms of speed, contrast, bokeh, sharpness. Everything is unbelievable. Check out the sample files for yourself. The trade-off on it is the size, weight, and price. Right in here was the 2.8 macro. Now I've actually returned that. That was a loaner. Have to say it was a bit too slow for the walking. It's a macro, that's not a big surprise, and no surprise being a 2.8 instead of a 1.4 or a 1.2. The bokeh wasn't as soft and smooth, but the sharpness wide open is really good, and stop down is great, among the very best in this test. Next up, number 4 was the 50mm f1.4G. Now, to be honest, the video
AF is a little bit slow for moving subjects. It is not great wide open. I've never thought it was very sharp wide open, but stop down, it's very, very good. Next up was the 1.8G, which, as I said, was my bargain choice from years ago, comparing F-mount versions only. I would say it does slightly better with video AF, a little bit faster. The 1.8 is just so good for the price. Stop down is doing very well, but probably not quite as well as the 1.4. But wide open, I think it's probably doing a little bit better than the 1.4, believe it or not. Next up is the YN Yongnuo lens. It's not great for focus, it's not great wide open, but stop down, surprisingly not bad. I personally still wouldn't buy it though. And then the 1.8Z lens, it's a stellar performer. Maybe not quite at the 1.2 level, but bang for buck and size and weight performance, I think it's really hard to fault. So there's a whole bunch of 50mm options for you if you're considering, upgrading to mirrorless and not sure if the lens you have is going to work well. Basically anything other than the Tokina Opera, which I've never seen someone actually using in the wild, you're likely going to get fine results as long as it has a built-in autofocus, unlike the 1.8D. If you're in the ecosystem, then please do check out my Nikon Z setup guide. It runs you through everything to get the most out of whatever Z camera you're shooting with. And if you're interested in learning artistic art nude bodyscapes, you can check out that course below. Again, please note it is intended for a mature audience and not suitable for work. Let me know any questions you have, and I'll see you soon. Now, could I just have you stand right here? And I'm just going to put this right here. And then I'm just going to put this right here.
Oh,
and then it's a tradition now.
That.
We kind of has the height. So we kind of need a song. And I know you're embarrassed, but if you cock up the lyrics again, it's actually totally fine by me. It was quite funny and cute. So no pressure.
I can remember them.
Take it away. I'll mute myself so you can just be fabulous.
Okay, today I'm gonna sing Perfect from Ed Sheeran. Let's get this. I found a love for me. Darling, just dive right in. Follow my lead. Well, I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. I never knew you were that someone waiting for me. So we were just kids when we're so in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time. Darling, just kiss me slow. I will be your own. Okay, forget it.
Yay! Ed Sheeran is my favorite ginger. He's an amazing watch collector. Hi Ed, hope you're watching. That was pretty great, right? Yay! Okay,
Thank you.
download the files and blah blah blah. Bye.